Well, I don't know about you guys, but after watching that preseason game, I think Tanner McKee is the backup quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, and I am convinced the Eagles are going to have a great year, maybe even 14 wins. Is that too hot a take?
Yeah, I think you're just sensationalizing.
Well, that was the fastest game of the season by far, but Tanner McKee did exactly what a lot of us expected him to do, and we even talked about it during the pregame show when it came for our players to bank on, at least for our predictions. You gentlemen so astutely pointed out Tanner McKee would be that guy. I have it in me to be a contrarian. I said Grant Calcaterra. I was way off, but the Eagles go on to the 20-13 victory, getting their 14th win of the season, matching the franchise record. Tanner McKee looked every bit of a good backup quarterback, one that could serve this team in the not-too-distant future. You even have guys like Aniyah Smith getting involved in the game plan with the touchdown on that opening drive. Jahan Dotson gets almost as many yards in this game as he had in the entire season for the Eagles. And you had Jeremiah Trotter Jr. on the defensive side of things come up second on the team in total tackles, and Oren Burks leading the way when it came to that. And how about this, to cap things off there for that Eagles defense, Sidney Brown has more interceptions this year than Quenyon Mitchell, because sports, Seth Joyner, are weird. Welcome into the betPARX postgame show. I'm Marc Farzetta. This right here is Eagles Hall of Famer Seth Joyner and Eagles veteran reporter Mr. Derrick Gunn. We're coming to you live from Parx Casino in Ben Salem, just 20 minutes north of Center City, Philadelphia, and we are presented by the great people at Lehocky.
Hold on, Mark.
Oh, boy, what just happened?
I got to answer this guy in the chat.
Oh, boy.
Sketch Lab says, did Derrick Gunn get his breakfast? LOL. You know what, Sketch Lab? I didn't come close to getting a breakfast, man.
No.
I'm not very happy right now.
You had shrimp.
What?
You're always calling for shrimp.
I love seafood. I want my breakfast, man. I want to. Seth has all the pull. He ain't give me nothing, man, but a hard time.
Oh, listen to this.
I'm just saying.
Did you not like your salmon?
I don't set the menu.
I'm just saying.
I show up to work just like you do.
I mean, the salmon was nice, the shrimp was nice, the pasta was. Hey, man, but my palate was hungry for a waffle, man. Some scrambled eggs, something.
Well, it looks like we're gonna have.
He should have got him and grilled himself some waffles.
Yeah, bring the egg, man.
Man, come on, man.
Bring the egg. Can you grill a waffle? I guess you could grill anything.
Oh yeah, dude, I can grill anything.
You can grill waffle. Have you had a grilled waffle?
Man, I could grill water, man. What you talking about?
That's
man?
the best
what
steam.
You talking about, Willis?
That's the best steam I ever tasted. We are waiting. We are looking to see who the Eagles are going to be taking on, of course, in the first round of the playoffs. We'll go over those scenarios. But, Gunner, you just saw this. The Packers just got the ball back here. They just took the lead, 22-21 over the Bears with 50 seconds left in the game.
It's been a crazy day, and that's what I love about the last day of a regular season when you have 7-8 different games that mean something. So Green Bay's losing most of the game against Chicago. They get a touchdown with less than 2 minutes to go. They blow the 2-point conversion. Chicago gets the ball back. Chicago fumbles. Green Bay gets the ball, kick a field goal. They go up 22-21. Tampa Bay's been losing most of the day in their game. They come back and take the lead. Carolina's giving the foul. If Tampa Bay lost and Atlanta won, Atlanta's in, Tampa Bay's out. Carolina's been giving Atlanta all they can handle. Carolina just went back up 38-31 with 2 minutes left in the game.
Wow.
And Tampa Bay, let's see, right now Tampa Bay is holding on to a 1-point lead over the Saints, and they have the ball at a 2nd and 2 at the New Orleans 11-yard line.
Oh, that game's over there.
See, so it looks like New Orleans unless something crazy happens, New Orleans going to be in, Atlanta's going to be out. Green Bay could be the 6th seed. Tampa Bay. Now, as far as that other game we've been watching closely, the Dallas-Washington game, let's see here what happened.
There's about 30 seconds left in the game. The Cowboys are up 19-16.
19-16.
And the Commanders have the football right now. They actually pulled Jaden Daniels early in the game due to a coach's decision, which I found was interesting, according to Ian Rappaport.
It is 1st and 10 from the Dallas 16 with 25 seconds left.
That game could go to overtime.
Yeah.
Wow. See, that's what I like, because watching the scoreboard today, up and down the scoreboard, was way more eventful than watching this Eagles game. I'm just going to be honest with you.
Yeah, enjoying watching Gamecast and Red Zone more than what we watched for the Eagles today.
Let's be honest here. Be honest. How many notes did you take in this game? Seth? Mark? Look at Seth. Look.
How many notes do you see on there?
This is the least amount of notes.
Absolutely none. And normally, I got plenty of notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got plenty of notes going on.
I usually,
man, I am as disinterested in this game today.
Well,
I usually have 7 to 8 pages of notes. I log every play until we come out to a set. I think I have 1.5 pages of notes. That's it.
Well, Seth, you would have liked playing with me because I play to the whistle. Look at all them notes.
What?
Look at all them notes. I play every game like it's a Game 7 or Super Bowl, whatever. That's how I go.
You went to parochial school, didn't you?
All right, we don't need to get into our backgrounds.
And you probably sat in the front row so you can get all the brownie points from all the nuns. And
No,
stuff.
I still had to talk. I was in the back row.
You in the
I
back
still
row?
had to do my own show.
You're like one
Hey,
of these
listen,
goody
man.
two shoes.
I got about all the information I need
There you go.
on this game, okay?
Okay.
Tanner McKee was 22. No, that's the other guy. He was 27 of 41 for 269 yards and 2 touchdowns, a 100 rating. The Eagles didn't come close to, 100 yards rushing, and Jahan Dotson showed that he could really play if they would target him with 7 receptions for 94 yards.
Hey, man,
That's all we need to know.
plus, here's something else we need to know. Giants didn't want to win this game.
No.
They already blew the number 1 overall pick.
I tell you what, though, the Giants' defense did play today.
They did play.
They did play.
They just don't have any offense.
I mean, I've never seen the Eagles this out of balance with their run-to-pass ratio, even early in the season. Tanner McKee, 41 pass attempts.
Mm-hmm. I know, man. He came out slinging, though.
Yeah, and you even said, when we were watching the game, you even said, like, this is what we're used to seeing usually from the Eagles. They want to throw it 35, 40, 45 times. Yeah.
What you saw today is what they want to be. But when you go and you bring in a guy like Saquon Barkley, he's a not only a game changer, but how you approach the game, he changes that as well. When you have that beast, that animal, you got to feed him. So, you're going to be tilted in the other direction. But, Tanner McKee, the way he played today, that's the way that the Eagles really, really, really want to play football. They really want to throw the ball all over the map and for the run game to be secondary.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about Tanner McKee, but first, let's kick it off here with our Davis Honda drive of the game. And the Davis Honda drive of the game, gentlemen, came in that first quarter, first drive, when Tanner McKee was able to help march down the field and was able to get into the end zone with that touchdown pass to Aniyah Smith. And he was on point in that one, only had 2 throws on that one, only needed 5 plays in general, and they capped it off with that touchdown. You saw the 4 plays, 51 yards, only took him 2 minutes and 1 second, and Aniyah Smith was able to go out there with the 15-yard touchdown reception on a nice crossing route to get into the end zone for the Eagles to go up 7-0. How many times, gentlemen, throughout this season, though, have we watched Philadelphia Eagles sputter out of the gate, and they come up here and they're able to put it together?
I got breaking news.
Oh, boy.
Yep. Commanders just scored 23-19 over the Dallas Cowboys with 3 seconds left. So now how does this work out?
Well, not only that,
If Green Bay, even if they win and the Commanders win, do we get Green Bay?
you still get Green Bay because Commanders have the tiebreaker over Green Bay because of a better comp. By the way, Green Bay just lost. Chicago somehow goes down the field and kicks a 51-yard field goal.
Wow.
So Green Bay just lost. Looks like Washington is going to win. So Green Bay is coming. And the thing is, Jordan Love has an elbow injury. So we don't know his status for next week as well. So
Yeah.
meanwhile, Mark's like,
I'm just checking the scenarios. The scenarios coming into today, Washington win or Green Bay loses.
yeah.
Green Bay comes to
Green Bay
Philadelphia.
comes here, yeah.
So Green Bay is coming to Philadelphia.
I've been telling you this all day,
I'm
man.
just double checking with all the moving parts of today.
So-
I just wanted to nail it down.
You just didn't, but once you just admit, you didn't believe what I was telling you.
A little bit.
Tampa Bay
Wow.
just punched their ticket.
Tampa Bay,
27-19 with 158 left.
Wow. And Atlanta just tied Carolina with 46 seconds left, 38-38.
It don't matter, though.
It don't matter.
It's a moot point
Yeah.
for them.
All right, so let's get our instant reactions then, because we have plenty to react to when it comes to this Eagles game and what the season has been.
Right.
But when it comes to now, it all comes down to this. It all comes down to the Green Bay Packers, first round of the playoffs.
Right.
We have yet to see we have yet to know when they are going to play that game. It could be a Saturday game, a Sunday game. Doubt that it would be the Monday game. But when you look at this schedule and what it all comes down to is this first round matchup against the Green Bay Packers. Seth Joyner, you draw Green Bay round 1 of the postseason. Your thoughts?
Well, listen, we've already beat them once this year, so we showed that we could handle whatever they bring to the table. The consensus probably is that if that injury was serious enough, an elbow injury to the throwing arm of Jordan Love, that he probably won't play, advantage Philadelphia Eagles big time. big time. Because even if Malik Willis can play, and I think he hurt his finger on his throwing hand, the Packers, quite honestly, might not have a viable quarterback. Now, Josh Jacobs is going to run the football. Obviously, Matt LaFleur is going to try to implement that and get that done. And defensively, the Packers have played better lately. But I don't think they're a match in any way, shape, or form for this Philadelphia Eagles offense, rested Philadelphia Eagles offense.
I would agree. Gunner, the last time we saw the Green Bay Packers, it was that 34-29 victory in Brazil. So this will be the first matchup between the Packers and Eagles in America this time around. Yeah. Instant reaction to the Eagles drawing the Packers in round one.
Well, Green Bay has problems in their pass defense. Their run defense is pretty good. Their pass defense is suspect, especially with Jair Alexander out. He just had knee surgery. They said he wouldn't be ready for at least a couple of weeks. The one thing about this Packers offense that makes it so diversified and can be dangerous is the fact that, unlike most teams that are in the playoffs, they don't have a number one receiver. They have a bunch of guys. They have 4 receivers that can flat out fly, and they have 2 tight ends. So you never know who the ball's going to. Every good team in the league has a number one receiver. Green Bay doesn't have that number one receiver. Every week somebody different is a standout guy. But it all predicates on whether or not Jordan Love is healthy enough to play this game. Come to Philly.
And Christian Watson. He was carted off today, so he's probably out. So that's their field stretcher.
Yeah.
He's their speed guy, so he's probably going to be out too. So, a lot of things lining up in favor of the Eagles, for this playoff game against the Green Bay Packers.
Mm-hmm, certainly. Now, when it comes to the Eagles and what we saw in today's ball game, talked about Tanner McKee, talked a little bit about what the defense was able to do today. But most notably, one of the names that people wanted to see today was Jeremiah Trotter Jr. going out there. As I mentioned earlier, he was second in the team in tackles. I believe he finished with 11 on the day. What did you see from him?
Just steady play. I don't think anybody on the defensive side of the ball really played outstanding today. There's nothing that jumps off the page, other than the Sidney Brown, turnover. That's another turnover for the Eagles in the last, I don't know how many weeks. That's 10 turnovers in the last 3 games. But, listen, this is an important game for these young guys so that the coaching staff could see what they're like, how they would operate with a full game to display their talents. So, I'd have to dig a little deeper now. I sound like Nick Sirianni. I have to go back and look at the film.
Sure.
To tell you, individually how these guys play. I thought Jordan Davis had a good game early in the game. He was very, active in the run game and ran down, a screen and made a tackle. But other than that, I really didn't see anybody that just jumped off the page at me like Tanner McKee on the offense and like Jahan Dotson, on the offensive side of the ball.
Mm-hmm. I would say Sidney Brown had a pretty good game today. He came up and made some big tackles, and, of course, he had the game close.
He came up and missed some big tackles.
Dude, he's like one of these big hitters. He's either going to get you or he's going to miss it all together. But I thought he was flying around the field, made some good tackles, had a game-ending pick, basically, as well. But you're right. All you wanted to do is get your guys off the field unhurt in a game like this. Your frontline guys didn't play, which is good. Get the backup guys off the field unhurt, which they did, and get ready for what's to come either 6 days from now or 7 days from now.
Yeah.
What's pretty awesome, too, is, this New York Giants football team put up 45 points, 40-something points last week on the Indianapolis Colts. And for the Eagles to put all of their backups out there, every last backup, and only give up 13 points, that speaks a lot about how these guys are coached and, how they implemented the game plan today. Now, like I said, there was nothing spectacular on the defensive side of the ball, but in certain situations, they stood up and made plays where they need to make plays. The only negative play, was the neighbor's touchdown, the 45-yard touchdown. You don't ever want to see explosive plays for the opposing team in that manner, but they had a little breakdown, and then there was a missed tackle by McCollum. And, they managed to get that one touchdown on the board, along with 2 field goals. But, to be able to hold this offense, is not like it's that prolific of an offense. I don't know whether it's, the Colts defense is that bad or these young guys constructed and thrown together in a week's time are that good.
Now, before we go to break, we want to make sure that we tease the giveaway for today, which is a Brandon Graham jersey. We're going to be giving this away a little bit different this week. We have a Brandon Graham jersey, and in what the fourth segment of today, we're going to be giving that jersey away. So make sure you're following Seth Joyner, of course, on all social media platforms. But most importantly today, here's the curveball. Be in the chat in that fourth segment of the show, especially. Be in throughout. We're going to be monitoring the entire time, and we're going to be picking a name, right, Seth, in the chat to win that Brandon Graham jersey.
You got to be in here to win it. You know, I know that people jump in and jump out. The numbers go up and they go down, you know, especially when the commercials come on. Hey, we got to pay our bills. You know, that's just the nature of the beast. But you got to be present. So if you want to win the Brandon Graham jersey and you want to win the helmet and the signed football, you got to be in the chat to be eligible for it.
I hired somebody in the chat to represent me for the Brandon Graham.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I'm just saying.
You know Brandon Graham, man. I'm not talking about you need to hire somebody like Brandon will give you a jersey.
I'm just saying. The more
you just don't want to ask him for it, right?
I don't want to ask him. You know, I owe him a favor.
He hasn't offered?
Huh?
Brandon hasn't offered?
No.
Come on, Brandon.
No, man.
BG.
You know,
pride.
I owe him a favor.
Pride, D-Gun.
Huh?
You put your pride aside.
Pride go. What is it? Pride goeth before the fall.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yes, that's right.
All right. I'm going to ask you, man. All right. The person I hired, you're fired.
You're out.
I'm just going to ask him.
I will say, looking at the chat, I do want to just read out loud what Harry Grace said, because it's worth noting. Please tell Seth that is the nicest tie I've ever seen.
Sweet. Well, thank you, Harry. Thank you.
Look at that. See, we're monitoring the whole time.
Yeah,
Bailey Livesey will be along.
I put a little time in last night to throw this together.
That's nice.
You did a good job, man.
Thank you.
Look like $1 million damn dollars.
She didn't put the Garanimals together for you?
Listen. Just so you know, she might make my stuff, but I pick out all of my outfits.
I'm going to ask her.
All my
I want to ask her when she comes
back.
Ask her.
Fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough. When we come back, we're going to tell you the player of this game, the game that happened today, which felt all but a formality. We'll get into that. And also the matchup between the Packers. That's going to be coming up here with the Eagles. And where we are at the end of this regular season and where we'll be when the starters return to the lineup. That's what we'll talk about when we return on the betPARX postgame show presented by Lehocky. Parx Casino, just 20 minutes north of Center City, Philadelphia, in Bensalem.
It's happening again. Those missed tackles are starting to stack up. Your friends pleading with players who can't hear them, sweating it out week after week. But not you. Why? Because whether they score or not, there's always another way to win on the betPARX app. New casino users score up to $1,000 bonus back in their first 24 hours.
It's the most wonderful time with the kids jingle. Be of good cheer. It's the most wonderful.
Whether your phone's broken or old, we've got you. With Verizon, anyone can trade in any phone, any condition. And get iPhone 16 Pro with Apple Intelligence on us. And iPad and Apple Watch Series 10, all three on us. That's up to $2,000 in value, only on Verizon.
Hello?
Most people don't know how to get the care they need. The experts at Stay at Home Care can help. Before choosing a caregiver or family member for your care, you need to apply for the Home Care Program. The application process can be complicated. Stay at Home Care can help you navigate through every step. Once approved, your caregiver or family member will receive guaranteed weekly pay, a variety of medical benefits options, paid holidays, paid vacation, and overtime pay. Call Stay at Home Care, here to help every step of the way.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Parx Casino. Welcome back to the betPARX postgame show presented by Lehocky. Marc Farzetta along with Eagles Hall of Famer Seth Joyner and veteran Eagles reporter Derrick Gunn. Before we go any further, let's tip our cap again to Tanner McKee, who was able to go out there today and do his thing. The thing we were trying to discover as to whether or not he could be a backup quarterback in the NFL. He picked up from where he left off a week ago and went out there and was able to lead this Eagles team to 2 touchdown drives. Not too shabby. He is, today, our Mid-Penn Bank player to bank on. 27 of 41 passing for 269 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was sacked twice today, but also got rid of the football and avoided a couple other sacks. So all in all, I'll just ask you this question, gentlemen. We're not going to talk about the rest of his career in Philadelphia. We're not going to talk about the rest of his career in the NFL. But if push comes to shove and you need someone to step in next week, are you going Tanner McKee over Kenny Pickett?
Oh, That's a great topic.
You know my answer.
Your answer has always been Tanner McKee.
I've been talking about this kid for a long time. I mean, I watched him throw the ball in preseason behind an offensive line that, quite frankly, couldn't protect anything. Now you saw it last week behind the starting offensive line. He went out and he looked real good, and he followed it up against the number 2 offensive line this week, with a pretty solid day.
Gunnar, before you answer, I'll say this. Going into last week, I said this isn't the time to test somebody. You're looking to lock up that number 1. You're looking to lock up the NFC East. You're looking to put that in your back pocket. So that wasn't the time to see if a guy in the preseason who played well was going to play well in that particular moment. Although I had confidence he could do it, he proved it when he got the limited opportunities last week. Today, he proved it even further. So for me, it's not even a question. The number 2, if there's a number 2 backup quarterback controversy in Philadelphia, it's without a doubt Tanner McKee that he should be the number 2 guy behind Jalen Hurts. Has he done that enough? Has he done enough for you to prove he's worthy of that?
It's not that easy for me because of his limited experience. Kenny Pickett has more game experience. The only thing I don't like is the fact that Kenny Pickett would have to step on the field playing with those cracked ribs. And we don't know how much that could affect his throwing motion, his breathing, so on and so forth. I'm with Seth, though. I love everything about Tanner McKee's makeup. Tall quarterback at 6'6", has some mobility, strong arm, accurate, but playing against the Giants JV squad is a little bit different than playing lose or go home in a playoff scenario. And I don't know if I would want to see a Tanner McKee in that situation, especially against a veteran-tested team like the Packers. You go back to last season, everybody thought because Dallas had won 16 straight home games in the regular season, they were going to handle Green Bay. Green Bay goes in there and puts up 48 points for them and blows them off the map and came within 3 points of beating San Francisco. One mistake cost Green Bay in that game against San Francisco. Now Green Bay limping into the playoffs this time around. I don't think they can handle Jalen Hurts and that full-strength offense. I would not want to see Tanner McKee have to go against that Packers defense.
Listen, I'll say this, Mark. I do agree with D. Gunn on the experience thing. While Tanner McKee does look good in some inconsequential games, experience means a lot. When you step up to the line, being able to disseminate and decipher how the defense is going to try to trick you into thinking that they're in one thing and they're doing something else. The Giants played off a lot today. So Tanner got a lot of really good looks on out-breaking routes where defenders were off. And coming up, they ran some good combination routes early. But he also, and I know people are going to be like, oh, look at him pull up the negative. He did throw 2 balls that really should have been intercepted, balls that he threw into coverage. That's just a fact. I don't think Kenny Pickett, makes those mistakes. He got fooled against the Washington Commanders. The guy acted like he was going to the flat, fell back in, underneath a route to A.J. Brown on the inside. But I think Kenny Pickett's his experience in a playoff situation where the intensity, and the importance of that game is going to be higher. I think that's what the Eagles thought all along. We've never seen Tanner McKee started his first game today. So while a lot of us, including myself, believe that Tanner McKee won the backup job coming out of training camp, I think the Eagles may have been looking at it from the standpoint, but wait a minute, this guy's been a starter in the National Football League before. He's had experience in the National Football League before, and if Jalen goes down, we need that experience on the field.
Yeah. Are we confident that Jalen Hurts will be ready to go next week against the Packers?
As I sit here right now, I have no reason to not believe that's the case. He's had more than 2 weeks to go through all the protocols you could possibly go through. And again, I think Wednesday is the definitive day. When they step out on that field and start putting in the game plan, unless they play Saturday, then Tuesday would be the day we would really know if Jalen Hurts is ready to go. If he comes out on Tuesday, he's still in concussion protocol, then that raises a red flag in terms of what exactly is going on. Because, again, I keep replaying the play date. He got hurt over and over in my mind. It didn't look like he hit his head that bad. But then again, you don't know. And when people get concussions, I think Seth will attest to this, people feel concussions a lot differently. Some come out of that initial concussion quicker than other people will. And there's a reason why we're seeing more and more players that are being kept out of a one-game situation, whereas in the years past, it was like you get a concussion, you're back the next week. that has not been the case this season. You see more and more players now being kept out in extra game as a precautionary measure.
Well, listen, I think in a lot of ways, there's a difference between being tested and not clearing concussion protocol.
Right.
And, not being tested and not being out of the protocol.
Yeah.
And the Eagles haven't given us the type of information that says that, he's tested recently and he's out of protocol, or he's tested recently and he's still in protocol. I think that they made the decision that once they were going to back all the starters out of this game, there was no need for them probably to test him any further until next week, knowing that he's already going to clear concussion protocol. I don't think that there's any process that says that, that you have to test him over a period of time. If they made the decision that they were going to hold everybody out and Jalen was a part of that decision-making process, then you just stop testing and just realize that, he was close enough the last time that when we test him this time, he's going to be fine. Telling moment in the broadcast, Tiki and the McCourty twin, they were talking about, they were out at practice and they actually watched Jalen on the sideline kind of simulating going through, his quarterbacking deal. Now, we talked about it before, D-Gun. You're not even allowed to be at the game if you're in the concussion protocol.
Right.
Most of the time, you're probably not even allowed to be around football activities at all. So I think that's probably telling within itself that if he's out at a walkthrough and the broadcast crew sees him, then that means he's further along than any of us know or any of us think.
Right. That's a valid point. You're not supposed to even be on the field. I think you could be in the facility, like in a locker room or somewhere, but you can't be out on the field for a game during if you're in concussion protocol. So it tells me. See, it tells me maybe the Eagles are just being a little bit exceedingly cautious with this, in terms of protecting him from himself. He didn't have to practice this week. People keep talking about he's going to be rusty and all this stuff. I don't think that's going to be the case because of the way this offense is structured. They can do anything they want at any given time. Not many offenses in the National Football League can do that. If the passing game is off, you go to the run. Running game's off, you go to the pass. They do both equally well. If he comes out, he's throwing the ball, and Nick Sirianni and Kellen Moore notice he's a little bit rusty, well, they got a dominant running game. They got the best running game in the National Football League. They got a 2,000-yard rusher behind the best offensive line in the National Football League, and I don't care who you put him up against. As we've seen when they've played against better run defenses, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, they run the ball effectively. Mm-hmm. So until he gets in that rhythm and gets some of that rust off, I think they'll be fine.
Look, well, go ahead.
I'll be curious to see what the game plan is, and what Green Bay's game plan is going to be, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Everybody's game plan is, hey, let's shut Saquon down and put Jalen in a position where he's got to win the game with his arm. So I would imagine that if we get a lot of loaded box, that you're probably going to see, some short passes from Jalen to get him to back off. Once you get the too high look, then you'll get the running game and a lot of it. But that doesn't necessarily preclude the Eagles, when teams load the box, from being able to run the football, because they've been very good at it. And if you can break the second level, like Saquon has done so many times, there's usually only one guy left, and he usually makes that one guy miss.
On this note, I have been, I'll say, desperate for a green flag in the Jalen Hurts scenario, because we haven't heard any updates. And for me, that's more red flags than anything. But hearing during the game, as you pointed out, Seth, that he was at least there, he was going through some things, that's the closest thing to a green flag that we have seen so far. But when it comes to the rust issue, it's a very unique situation. And I'll go back to what we were talking about in the pregame show. Jalen himself, as well as pretty much everybody else, the head coach, Kellen Moore as well, talked about how this passing game was not in sync. So all of a sudden, Jalen Hurts has thrown 4 passes over the last 3 weeks after just one good game against the Steelers and a porous game before that against the Panthers. He's going to come back out for the playoffs, albeit against a banged-up Green Bay Packers team, and he's all of a sudden going to go out there and be I don't know if he needs to be dominant, but be at least on point to the fact he can help this team win a football game.
Well,
that has me concerned.
Well, listen, you got to realize, let's go all the way back to week 4, right before the bye. We sat right here and I talked about Jalen Hurts potentially being a game manager. Mm-hmm. I said, as crazy as that sounds, as the franchise quarterback of this team, that you need to roll him back a little bit until he gets his confidence, and then step by step, bring him back and bring the passing game back to where you want to have it. But the truth of the matter is, in this process, the running game took off, so tremendously, but I don't think we ever really got back there until the A.J. Brown comment, the passing game. And then all of a sudden, they had extra meetings. They had extra time on the field. They, communication was now locked in and taken care of. And then the next thing you know, Jalen Hurts comes out and throws for 290 yards and two passing touchdowns. So it's there. I don't think that there's a question that it's there if they need to implement it. The question for me is, are you going to be sharp? Because in playoff games, you have to be sharp, in my opinion. You a quarter and a half of not having it, and then you trying to find it. And if the defense is having a so-so or off day, you could find yourself down 2 scores and having to be in a situation where the running game. Now, obviously, if you're early in the process, you don't have to abandon the running game. But I think the more you're down in a game, early or late, the more stress it is on the offensive coordinator to figure out how to get you back into the game, and that usually comes down to passing the football.
I'm looking at the chat, and some people took exception to the fact when I said the Eagles are playing the Giants JV team, basically. The fact of the matter is the Giants are one of the worst teams in the National Football League. They're one of the worst offenses, scoring 16 points a game. They're one of the worst defenses, giving up 142 yards rushing a game. There's a reason why they're 3-14 on the season and sitting in the 4-hole for the upcoming draft in 2025. So basically, they were a JV team. They had lost 10 in a row before they won a game last week. So Eagles played a JV team today. I'll stick with what I said earlier.
Well, can I second that motion?
Thank you.
You said the Eagles beat up on the JV team.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to take it a step further and say, with how they play and who they are and what their record are, they are a JV team.
Exactly. That's what I said.
They're a JV team.
They're bad. They're terrible. They stink.
I would take a step further.
The organization is atrocious right now.
I think it was the freshman squad, to be honest with you.
Oh, wow.
I think it was the freshman squad. Let's just keep going with that.
I think Mark could have put his leather helmet on and run the wishbone offense and had over 200 yards rushing by himself against this Giants defense.
Wishbone? Give me the veer. I like to spread the ball around a little bit. Yeah. I like to be a point guard.
I'm sorry.
You know what I mean?
I'm sorry.
Give everybody a chance.
All right, I'm sorry.
Everybody a piece of the pie. All right, when we come back, Bailey Livesey, our social media correspondent, is going to be joining us. She's been monitoring the chat.
Oh, by the way, I'm sorry.
Oh, what do you got now?
This just in.
Oh, boy.
Brandon Graham said, D-Gun, I got you. I said, BG, I need a jersey for my collection. He just texted me, D-Gun, I got you. Do you see it right there, right, Seth? You see it?
Make sure you tell them I'm giving away one today. That's why you couldn't get this.
When we come back, Bailey Livesey is going to join us, our social media correspondent. She's been monitoring the chat, and she'll be letting us know what you guys have been talking about through the postgame show to this point. The Eagles come away with the 20-13 victory over the New York Giants, and Nick Sirianni, we'll talk about him a little bit later, now 2 14-win seasons for the Philadelphia Eagles. Not too bad. That's when we return to the betPARX postgame show presented by Lehocky. The Beer Garden here at Parx Casino in Ben Salem. Enjoy a Stein, take it a game, and have some good times.
At Lehocky Giordano, we understand the impact an injury can have on your life. Our experienced attorneys have recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we know we can do the same for you. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured at work, give Lehocky a call.
Since 1893, Weber Display and Packaging has been Pennsylvania's leading manufacturer of corrugated packaging and displays. We're family-owned with 4 Philadelphia locations, 2 converting facilities, a warehouse, and a fulfillment center. Designed through delivery, we exceed customer needs. Weber Display and Packaging. Our core values drive everything we do. Come join our team.
This is Parx.
This is how you roll. This is how it goes. This is how you pop. This is how you rock. Take a chance, do a dance, little romance. This is how you. This is how you win. This is how you big sight. This is how you all night. 360 hit me. Now we're going all in. I can feel it calling. The crowd, the light, the night, the sights, the vibe is right. This is how you. This is
Parks, Pennsylvania's #1 casino experience. This is how you win.
At Revolution X, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? Revolution X has institutional-grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Lehocky. Welcome back to the betPARX post-game show from Parx Casino in Bensalem, just 20 minutes north of Center City, Philadelphia, and we are presented by the great people at Lehocky. We've been monitoring the chat, or at least Bailey Livesey has been doing so, our social media coordinator. Bailey, what are the good people talking about after a 14-3 season for the Eagles?
Well, first off, I can't believe it is the last Q&A session of the regular season. I mean, how insane is that? We have some good questions lined up. So for our first one, now that the game is over, do you think the Eagles made the right decision not playing Saquon Barkley?
We spent a lot of time on the pregame show talking about it. Seth, I know you'll talk about it as well, but for me, the balancing act, I would be disappointed if he didn't play. He didn't play, I'm disappointed. I'd be devastated if he did play and got hurt. So that's the way I try to balance it out. All along, I was saying, don't play him if it comes down to it. Don't just go for the record. If it comes down to just play him just so he gets the record, don't do that. The closer we got to it, the more I wanted him to play and get that record for the offensive line, for himself, obviously, and also for Jeff Stoutland in an era where you could put assistants in the Hall of Fame. That's quite the feather to put in the cap of a assistant coach.
Let me ask you this. What's more important, hoisting that Lombardi trophy or him getting that individual record?
Obviously, hoisting Lombardi trophy. We get no parades for individual records.
And I don't think there's a wrong answer in this debate. It's one of the few topics we can talk about all week long, and there's no wrong answer in this particular debate. If he was 101 yards away in Game 16, he's gone. He's going for it. Game 17, why are you playing him? Your Kansas City playing any of their regulars? I mean, I understand Kansas City doesn't have a record to look at like the Eagles did in this particular game. But the bigger picture is let your guys who have aches, let their aches and pains heal up. You've got a much more important game because there is no tomorrow after today. Everything is one and done. You either win or you go home. Doesn't make a difference how you get there. The Eagles will go into the playoffs as one of the healthiest teams in the National Football League. You want all your horses in all cylinders firing the same way when it comes to what's coming up next weekend. You don't want any flukes. Somebody, Lane Johnson, ankle roll, Jordan Mailata, knee, anything like that. Everybody's good to go now. They've got an extra week of rest. Your quarterback has got extra time to rest. Let these guys get ready for what's to come.
As an ex-player, I'm always say play, especially when you have a record like this just hanging in the balance. The way that the Giants played, they probably could have got that 101 in the first quarter and a half and then sat everybody down. But, it's water under the bridge. Not a whole lot to talk about anymore. It's done. Milk spilt, can't put it back in the glass. All right? So it kind of is what it is. And by the way, Baylor, you just got a marriage proposal from Honest Abe in the chat.
What?
Oh. All right.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make.
Congratulations, Baylor.
There we go.
Very, very straightforward in the chat. Yep.
Yeah, who knew you could find love in a place that's usually a hopeless place?
Our chat is something else.
It really is. It really is. I will say this about Saquon, though. I do have confidence he'll have an opportunity to get it next year. And next year, I know it's difficult. I know when you look at every single one of these guys that has rushed for 2,000 yards, the best following year they've had is 1,800 yards.
Yeah.
But this is one hell of an offensive line.
Yes, it is.
And that is one talented running back. And look, if this game, let's not forget, this game mattered today, Saquon's playing in this game.
I agree.
So a lot had to go. There had to be a perfect storm. And I don't mean this, well, I guess I kind of mean this for selfish reasons for Saquon Barkley. I don't think there's going to be too many instances next year when Nick Sirianni goes up to him in the fourth quarter and says, "You still want to play?" I don't think there's going to be any instances where he says, "Nah, take me out."
Yeah.
I think he's going to go for every single possible carry that he can get next year to break that record. That's where I'll put it. Now, marriage proposals aside, Bailey, what else do you have for us?
Well, the Packers are coming to Philly. Are we happy to be playing the Packers, or would you rather we be playing the Commanders?
Well, before the game started today, I was leaning more towards playing the Commanders for a revenge factor, and the fact that, if you got Jalen Hurts for a full game, how he complements Saquon in the running game and how we were playing before Jalen got hurt the last time we played him, I felt that was the best matchup. But now, in light of the injuries and how beat up Green Bay is, we don't know whether Jordan Love is going to be able to play. And even if he plays, how effective he'll be. We don't know if Malik Willis is going to be the starting quarterback or not. Defensively, when I look at these two teams, the Commanders are a better team against the pass than they are against the run, or vice versa. I think they're better against the run than they are against the pass. The Green Bay Packers defense for years has been, their bugaboo, if you will. They've always had a prolific offense. They're built upon that. What's always held them back is the defensive side of the ball. And I don't really believe that they're all that great this year. D-Gun, you probably know quickly more than I do. Yeah. How many points did the Eagles put up on them in the first game?
34.
I think 34 points in the first game. So I like the matchup. I think the matchup favors the Eagles, especially if they can come out and dominate early. We might have another one of these games where the guys are sitting over there, like Saquon today, sipping that Dunkin' Donuts hot cocoa while the young boys are out there finishing this thing up.
I want to see him to play the Packers simply because I don't want to see Jaden Daniels running up and down the field. When plays break down, this kid is electric with his feet. I mean, he's got a laser for an arm, but when he takes off, man, you don't see defenders catching up to him. You gotta specially design a defense to keep him in a corral so he doesn't bust one off at 20, 30 yards. Jordan Love at his best is not going to run like Jaden Daniels. The one thing about Green Bay, as I said a little while ago, is their diversity in the passing game. They don't have a number one receiver. You don't know who's getting the ball in any given moment. They have a really good running back they got from the Raiders and Josh Jacobs, who had a 1,000-yard season. The biggest Achilles heel for the Packers is their pass defense, especially without Zaire Alexander. He's out for at least a couple of weeks. And that has killed the Packers all season long in big games, is their pass defense. Before they lost to the Bears today, the 5 games that Green Bay had lost to were all against teams that had 14 wins, okay? Twice to Detroit, twice to Minnesota, once to the Eagles, and now they lose on the last-second field goal to Detroit to close out the season. They've got some issues to figure out, and they only have a short amount of time to figure it out. Christian Watson went down, grabbed his knee. He's carted off the field. He was they have 3 or 4 guys that can actually stretch the field, but he's the big body who stretches the field at like 6'3", 6'4". Outside of that, Green Bay has some issues coming to the link next week.
Well, let me ask this real quick. Do we have confidence, all 3 of us, that they beat either team next week?
Yes.
Are we on the same page with that?
Absolutely.
Going into today, I wanted to face the Commanders.
Okay.
I wanted another shot at the Commanders. Revenge factor on the Commanders. Maybe humble Jaden Daniels going into the offseason. Give him a tough loss there going into the offseason. Although he had a great rookie year, it didn't end well. I wanted to see the Commanders take grasp there of the NFC East like that. But now, not that I ever root for anybody to be injured or banged up, but I do like it when a team that I'm playing against or my team's playing against isn't as good as they're supposed to be.
Right.
It's clearly right now the fact that you want to play the Green Bay Packers over the Washington Commanders. So
Absolutely.
For me, this day couldn't have worked out better for the Philadelphia Eagles as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Bailey, what else do you have for us?
Okay, well, lastly, Seth, you've been in playoff games before. Would you agree that the level of intensity goes up that much more?
Oh, tremendously. The decision was made to rest the players. Now, by the time we get to tomorrow evening, the focus has to begin to lock in because the playoffs is a different animal. It's not like, if you lose next week, you got another week, you got next year. That's pretty much, where you are now. It's win or go home. So the focus has to be laser-like in your preparation. Family has to take a back seat. other business priorities, podcasts, and all that other stuff that you may have going on the rest of the year. All that stuff needs to take a back seat because, preparation is really what it's all about. Making sure that you've turned over every rock and swept every leaf out of the way to make sure that you've got every detail locked in for this upcoming game. There's nothing more important, just as long as everybody's healthy and well in your family, there's nothing more important than this game coming up either Saturday or Sunday or Monday for the Philadelphia Eagles. And the players have to approach it that way. And those players who've been there and done that, those are the ones that Jordan, the Lane Johnsons, the Landon Dickersons, the guys on the defensive side of the ball that's been here, they've got to be the ones to step to the forefront and express to these young players how important this next step in the tournament is. Because when you're playing in a playoff game, a play at any point in the game could be the difference between winning and losing. You always hear people, like, for instance, okay, the ball that Saquon dropped early in the year against Atlanta, the ball that Devontae dropped a couple of weeks ago. Everybody says, oh, that one play isn't the reason why, we lost the game. But in the playoffs where you don't have a week to recover, it most certainly is the most important play in the game because it is the difference between you either taking the lead and being able to salt the clock away or give your team an opportunity to get a touchdown in that situation where you take the lead and now the defense can take the field and get done what it needs to get done. So this is like, it takes laser focus and understanding that if you thought that the game was intense during the regular season, I promise you it's going to be 15 to 20% more intense. Guys are going to be playing harder, faster. Everything ramps up once we get to this time of the year.
Well, on that note, what would you tell Cooper DeJean? What would you tell Quenyon Mitchell, the younger guys on this team, the rookies on this team, about how much it ramps up going into the postseason?
Well, just, listen, when it comes to mistakes are made because there's a lack of preparation there. When it comes to penalties happen because you're not in position. But those are things that are fixable when you focus in on your preparation throughout the week. Opportunities are going to present itself across the board for both teams in this game. The team that is the best prepared, that understands what's going on, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Because from a defensive perspective, everything that you do is read and react. So when you see a guy, make a lightning quick response, it is because in his mind's eye, he's already seen that before through preparation, either on paper, in practice, or in film study, or a combination of all three. So there's no hesitation. There's no, I think I see it. No, there's a for sure definite understanding of what's going on, and the reaction is right now. On the offensive side of the ball, it's a little bit different because you're reacting to what the defense is doing in a lot of ways, and what you've got called is planned. But at the same time, for these young guys, they got to understand that as fast as you think the game is going to be, or as fast as the game has been, it's going to be a tick faster. Things are going to happen a lot faster because players are going to be playing harder and faster and with more aggression. That means that you need to raise your level to either meet it or exceed it.
Fair enough. Gunnar, you've interviewed, obviously, a lot of players over the years, younger players making their playoff debuts and whatnot. What do you gather from them?
Initially younger players get overwhelmed by all the hoopla preceding the game. Going out on the field, especially a home game, crowd going nuts, planes flying overhead. In this case, the guy who lets the eagle fly over the stadium and stuff like that. The environment's going to be electric, and a lot of players talk about how it sends chills up their spines because they've never experienced anything like that, even in the biggest games in a college moment. And then once the game settles in, it's all about playing football. So I expect some of these Eagles younger players who've never been in this situation to be jacked up before the game's over. But once it comes down to it and that whistle blows, it's all about the X's and O's and trying to get that all-important W.
Fair enough. Bailey Livesey, through the regular season, you have been there monitoring the chat. Look forward to doing it next week with you in the postseason as well. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Bailey Livesey, our social media coordinator, monitoring the chat.
You
Letting us
tell her
know.
Happy New Year, man. What's wrong with you?
I have a rule about
What's wrong
Happy
with
New
you,
Year.
man?
We're already past the deadline.
No,
we're well past the deadline.
No, see, I say the deadline is the middle of the month.
Middle of the month?
Yes, because a lot of people you don't see the first few days of a month.
Hey, if it's on your mind and you haven't wished someone a happy 2025, then you go ahead. I mean,
there you go.
It could be July.
It could be July?
It could be July.
You're probably
happy 2025.
You know what, Seth? Mark is probably one of those guys. The day after Christmas, he takes the tree down.
Oh, my tree's been down for.
See what I mean?
New Year's Day, I took my tree down.
See what I mean?
I'm surprised it lasted that long. I thought I thought Christmas night, once the kids went to sleep, it would have came down.
I did tell you the minute my daughter is done ripping the last present, tree's down, ornaments
see
out.
what I mean?
Open the space, baby. Open the space.
You have limitations on your holiday spirit.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to verify it. All right.
Either way, hey, Bailey, thanks again and Happy New Year. We'll be back. Dr. Bruce Grossinger will help us understand what's going on with Jalen Hurts and what we can look at when it comes to other Eagles injuries and how Dallas Goedert looked in his first game back in, 5 weeks now? 6 weeks? Good to see him catching, or at least trying to catch passes here for the Philadelphia Eagles today. We'll be back in a second with the betPARX postgame show presented by Lehocky. The betPARX Sportsbook here at Parx Casino in a lap of luxury. Taking all the games and win yourself some cold, hard cash.
It's the most wonderful time with the kids jingle. Be of good cheer. It's the most wonderful.
Whether your phone's broken or old, we've got you. With Verizon, anyone can trade in any phone, any condition. And get iPhone 16 Pro with Apple Intelligence on us. And iPad and Apple Watch Series 10, all three on us. That's up to $2,000 in value, only on Verizon.
Hello? And the next thing I knew, I woke up in a hospital bed.
Has a friend ever told you a story about an accident and someone says,
you should probably sue them.
Forget your friend. Call Lehocky Giordano.
We're an injury law firm that's recovered billions of dollars for our clients.
And with our vast network of attorneys throughout the country, we know we can do the same for you.
So if you've been injured in an accident, give Lehocky a call.
One conversation is all it takes, and you won't pay a dime until we win.
Sell your car to us, no hassle, no fuss. DavisBuysCars.com.
Did you know that Davis Honda will pay top dollar for your car? Go to DavisBuysCars.com and get an instant quote on your vehicle. We'll make the purchase as easy as possible and put cash in your hand faster than you can say DavisBuysCars.com.
Sell your car to us, no hassle, no fuss. DavisBuysCars.com.
Gentlemen, are you ready for a wardrobe update? Introducing Divine Nine's Custom Menswear, your clothier for truly unique, custom-made threads. With Divine Nine, you can design your own one-of-a-kind suit, jacket, slacks, shirts, golf pants, and shorts, perfectly handcrafted by our skilled artisans who will bring your vision to life. Prepare to stand out from the crowd with Divine Nine's Custom Clothier, official clothier of Seth Joyner. Custom clothing made for you.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Verizon. Welcome back to the betPARX postgame show presented by Lehocky. As we mentioned in the opening segment, and as we mentioned in the pregame show, we are giving away a Brandon Graham jersey. And gentlemen, I hold in my hand the winner of the Brandon Graham jersey. The winner of the BG jersey, other than Derrick Gunn, who begged for one from his friend Brandon Graham.
I ain't begged nothing.
A little bit of begging.
Yeah,
Troy Wheeler, congratulations.
Hey.
You have won the Brandon Graham jersey. Following all social media platforms with Mr. Seth Joyner. And, of course, being in our chat still. Good hustle to you, Troy Wheeler. Much appreciated. You want to do the next one as well?
Go ahead.
Oh, we're
You're
just
on a roll.
Still the spirit of giving. How about that? Helmet and ball being given away by Mr. Seth Joyner himself will go to, flattery is everything, Harry Grace. Congratulations, Harry Grace. You win.
Doesn't either want to compliment him on his time.
Unconfirmed. Per sources, but unconfirmed.
Rigged. Rigged.
Hey.
A helmet and ball.
Hey, My handwriting don't look like that, so y'all know that I didn't pick the winner.
This is true. You did show the handwriting earlier in the show from your scrapbook, so we can confirm that it is no match. There is no match. So there you go. Troy Wheeler, congratulations. You have won the Brandon Graham jersey. And Harry Grace, congratulations. You have won the helmet and ball as well.
You know what's so great about, our chat? I can't tell you how many people are congratulating Harry and Troy in the chat.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's good sportsmanship. Every once in a while you get one idiot to say something that's off the cuff. Yeah. But for the most part, it's just flowing, one chat after another of people congratulating people. You just never know when it's going to be your time.
Yeah, exactly.
What does this say? Donald Rohn says Troy is Gunner's nephew. You know something? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't have any nephews.
Well, look.
Named Troy. Oh, no, I do. I do have a nephew.
Wow.
He's out in California.
Wow.
Oh, my goodness.
Wait, was he the gentleman that was here a couple weeks ago?
No.
Okay,
no,
it was a different nephew.
That was a different nephew.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just trying to, use the employees of the show are ineligible.
Well, I never saw that disclaimer, and that was not in my contract, that giveaways do not pertain to employees. You have to specify in contracts when you do stuff like that.
If you look at the contract, it don't say nothing about giveaways.
Well, okay, that means then we are also subject to be eligible for giveaways.
Why, Gunner, why are you pointing it out? Now next year it's going to be in our contract.
Oh, gee.
No, it's not.
Okay, fine. All right,
it's just a known fact that, employees of the said company that's giving away the giveaways are not eligible. That's a conflict of interest. You guys know that.
WP33 says, plot twist. Let's get to the fine doctor. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Bruce Grossinger joining us on site here at PARX Casino in Bensalem. Dr. Bruce, we've been speculating, something you never do, but we're just trying to wrap our minds, no pun intended, around where Jalen Hurts is right now with concussion protocol. He has not been practicing, but he's been at the facility. What can you tell us? Any positive information regarding Jalen Hurts and his status for next week, week 1 of the playoffs, first round of the playoffs against Green Bay Packers?
Well, I'm going to infer that he will play next week, and there's a lot of data to support that. One is the fact that he participated in walkthroughs, as pointed out by Seth. The second is, as a scientist, we look at two weeks ago. He went into the tent. He underwent 4 stages of a protocol. He cleared it. He gave everybody a thumbs up. He put his helmet on. He was about to run onto the field. That was 2 weeks ago. And now, I believe the Eagles have slow played it. They're in full control. The independent league neurologist is only in play for the game day. And I agree with Seth that, number one, they've got enough shade from the situation with Saquon. I think they wanted to keep Jalen out of the media this week. And they just didn't. I think they opted not to have it proceed through the protocol. But I have I'm very confident that he will be playing next week against the Green Bay Packers.
All right. Any benefit throughout the last 2 weeks, of not evolving him through the protocol?
Well, when you have a concussion, there are neurochemical changes that happen with every concussion. And from a scientific standpoint, a neurochemical standpoint, theoretically, the longer you wait until he plays, the better. The membranes of the brain and the neurons, and there are so many, become more stable. So I think there's a benefit neurologically, but there is a detriment with respect to rust, and that was pointed out by all of you gentlemen.
All right. When it comes to Dallas Goedert, he was running around for the first time in some weeks there, obviously after being activated off IR. How did he look to you today?
He looked great, actually. He was the first quarter was the Dallas Goedert show. I mean, he made some great catches, showed great fluidity, didn't show any ill effects of the hamstring problem. In fact, one tackle, they hit it right on the ankles, and they flipped him up in the air. He looked great, and he'll be one of the only starters, including Jordan Davis, who will not be rusty next week. So I think that's a feather in their cap. He looked great.
I guess the only other person, Doc, is, because they seem pretty healthy, especially with this extra week. You had Nakobe Dean with the, what did he have? The
abdominal injury.
Abdominal injury. Any word on that or any information you could offer as far as, he was out last week, out this week, going to get another full week through practice this week to be ready to play?
I can't say for sure, but he looked sure healthy on the sidelines. He was yucking it up. You can never tell with an abdominal situation. But I believe if he did have a problem, I think there would be somebody, especially D. Gunn, would have heard something. So I think he's going to be a full go for next week.
Doc, I just want to ask you, when it comes to Jalen, why even keep the concussion protocol tag on him at this point? He wasn't going to play today anyway. I'm just a little bit surprised because, again, I know that when people get concussion, it affects everybody differently. But it didn't look like he hit his head that bad on the ground. He got up. He wasn't woozy. It didn't appear he was woozy. Gave thumbs up, did all that stuff, went to the tent. But I'm just a little surprised that over 2 weeks later, he's still in the so-called protocol.
Well, number one, they're in full control of that, as I said. I can think of two benefits. One is just a part of the Green Bay Packers in their preparation. They might have to prepare for Tanner McKee, or they might have to prepare for Kenny Pickett. The other is, I just don't think there's an advantage in Jalen being interviewed. And he would have been hammered by local and national media. And I think it's good to protect him from those questions and just to be fully focused. So I think there are two secondary endpoints that are not medical at all.
Doctor, we had talked earlier about Kenny Pickett versus Tanner McKee, and we all agreed that Tanner McKee would be the guy that we would have start next week if that's what it came down to, healthy Kenny Pickett or not. But I don't think that's what the Eagles are going to be doing. I think the Eagles are going to have Kenny Pickett as the backup quarterback, possibly even the starter, depending on what happens with Jalen Hurts, albeit you're giving us great news about Jalen. So when it comes to Kenny Pickett, health-wise, would he be ready to go and play? Let's just say play, not start, but play next week if called upon to do so.
My intuition is that he'll be an emergency third-string quarterback. To actually go into a playoff game with so much meaning, the idea, the Packers, they're smart, and if they hit him in the ribs and they prepare him to be the first string, and then he goes out, then you got to bring McKee in, and he's only getting secondary reps. So I believe from a medical and a football standpoint, they should have Tanner McKee as a backup, and they should have Pickett as the third emergency quarterback for the reasons that he still has fractured ribs. We saw last week how they hit him twice, how he went out once at the end of the first half, and another time he couldn't come back to play. So I just don't think you want that type of uncertainty in a playoff situation.
Interesting. I do have to ask you this question. It comes down to the bye week. The bye week, week 5. 2-2 going into that bye week. The Eagles, of course, go on a great run after that bye week. But it's been a long time. I know the Eagles haven't been able – the Eagles haven't gotten on a plane in a month, since they were in L.A. to take on the Rams. So they've had a good month of December and obviously now early January. How important is the day-to-day for the starters to get the day off, rest up for the first round of the playoffs against the Packers? How important after not having a bye week since week 5 is that layoff and that break today for the starters?
Well, putting the Saquon thing aside, and of course, being a season ticket holder – as the week went on, I wanted to see Saquon run it. His family did. The offensive line wanted it. But the fact that most other teams had bye weeks were so much later, the fact they could all rest up, especially this line that has been through so much, I think it can only be a positive for them to all rest and to have a good week of practice going in and to bring the Green Bay Packers in, who have a very small stadium, into 80,000 crazy fans, including myself, at Lincoln Financial Field. I think it'll be very daunting. And again, we don't want to see any injuries, but if Love has an elbow injury and their fastest wide receiver, you don't wish for injuries, but you do hope for victories.
Fair enough. Doc, we thank you so much for being with us throughout the regular season. We look forward to talking to you again after what will be, we hope, the Eagles' first playoff win of this postseason. Dr. Bruce Grosier, our sports doc, thank you so much.
It's been my pleasure.
Absolutely. Dr. Bruce, give us some good news. Yeah.
You know what's crazy, too, is,
what's that?
You talk about the Eagles not having to be having to get on a plane for quite some time. If things work out, according to plan as far as the seeding is concerned, the next time they get on a plane, they'll be going to an NFC Championship game. If it really works out in our favor, we don't ever have to get back on another plane again till we head down to Louisiana.
Somebody knocks off that number 1 seed.
There you go.
Hey, looking at the chat, hey, Seth, one of your fans has a special request.
What's that?
Kristen Law says, you talk about all the giveaways you give away today, and we've given her. She says, give away Seth's boxer briefs.
I don't wear boxer briefs. I don't wear tidy whities.
You know what? No further questions.
I'll leave it at that.
No further questions. No further questions.
I tell her what though, Kristen. If you got a pair of Eagles boxer briefs and you bring them over to Parks next week, I will sign them.
Oh, come on, man.
I might even sign them right here on the show.
Really?
Yeah.
Christian Law, you heard it.
They ain't mine.
He's a given man.
Christian Law.
I ain't mine. You know.
It could be a boifriend or a husband.
No, listen. As long as, if she bring them, I said if she bring
Make sure they clean.
If she bring them, just make sure they're clean. If she brings them, I'll sign them. You know. Now my wife might have a problem with it.
Yeah. No. Let's just notice that the wife is not here today.
Yeah.
But she's fine watching.
She would have given them the
she's
style
watching.
had she been here today.
I promise you that.
Does she have an alias, Kristen Law? No? Okay.
I think she'd be okay with the boxer briefs. She'd have a problem with the thong.
Okay.
Oh, man. Oh, my goodness.
I was just trying to keep it light, man. That's all.
Oh, man. Oh, my goodness.
Come on, Mark, say something.
I got you. No, I got you. I was just thinking when we announced the show and people were like, "Oh, Gunner's going to do his stuff, Seth's going to do his stuff, and Mark's just got to keep it on the rails." Well, it took 18 weeks. We're off the rails, so I'm pretty proud of that. 17 strong weeks.
Oh, man.
I did want to ask you, if I can steer back for a second.
Yes, Mark. Go right here, buddy.
Oh, damn. All right. If I could ask this question.
Sure, pal.
When it comes to the rest, how important is it for this team from a player's perspective? How important is to get now? Look, I know you didn't want it, but it happened. How important is that for Saquon Barkley, Jordan Mailata, and this Eagles offensive line?
You know, listen, I don't know how those guys feel, you know, and I've never been in that situation before, so I don't know, Mark. I mean, I've only been in a situation where I've been on a team that's had the number one seed. And, well, twice. We had the number one seed, and we had the bye, so we had the week off. You know, one year I was starting, the other year I wasn't. And the year I was starting, I actually had my knee operated on early in the season. I missed the first 4 or 5 games of the season, so I was looking forward to some time off just because the knee was only 75%. After I came back after the scope, it was 75% the entire time. I played in the Super Bowl with it 75%. So in a situation like that, yeah, it's monumental. But every other scenario that I've ever been in, you just go play. You know, you don't think about rest. You think about rest in the off season. And but we live in a different era now. I get it. You know, we'll see how much the rest affects how effectively and how aggressively they play as a unit next week. Because, you know, you see it all the time. Teams get time off, and then they go into a game, and their timing and their rhythm and everything, the flow, everything's off, you know, opposed to that team that plays all the way through, and they're in a groove. They're in a rut. They're a good rut. They're in a rhythm. And the whole time, you know, they just carry the good play from one game to the next, to the next, to the next, right on through to the Super Bowl. So there's two modes of thought here, you know, but we won't know whether it's been beneficial to this team until they take the field next week to see how they come out and how they play. They should come out breathing fire. If you're going to get that much rest, they should come out breathing fire next week. There should be no excuse. You should be prepared, beyond preparedness, and you should come out with energy at such a high level, you know, that you're playing the game 1,000 miles per hour. You know, I'd be very disappointed if they came out and they didn't play to the level that they need to play to, and the coach gave them the week off in week 18.
I can't add anything more to that. I think rest is of the utmost importance at this point. You know, all these guys with the little aches and pains, any extra rest you can get, especially in a one-and-done situation, you take that. You know, a lot of these guys either have team in-house masseuses or they have their own personal masseuses. And I can't tell you how many players I've talked to about getting these deep tissue massages to the point where it brings tears to the point. I'm talking about players like, you know, Jeremiah Trotter, Brian Dawkins. It's, you know, they dig so deep, but the next day they feel almost 100% better, you know. And so whatever these guys do, whether it's an ice bath or just extra stretching or just resting, the aches and pains, anytime you can get it. You want to be that team that only has to play 2 games instead of 3, but when you get that extra day of that last game of the season off, take advantage of it. That's like having your bye week to get ready for what's to come.
Fair enough. When we come back.
Hey, hold up, man.
Oh, boy. Oh, no, please. Not another one.
Hey, man, Kristen got a response to you.
Why, man? What did she say?
Wait, right here. Hold up. See right there?
It's a family show, folks. It's a family show.
That's why I didn't say anything.
I'm just saying is all. When we come back, stock up, stock down with some of these Philadelphia Eagles players and maybe executives when we return here on the betPARX postgame show presented by Pond Lehocky.
Oh, man.
The 360 Lounge here at Parx Casino. Enjoy some amazing entertainment and ice cold drinks.
Pride, passion, and persistence. These are the values that drive us all at Ron Jaworski Golf. We strive to deliver outstanding conditions as well as playability for golfers of all ages and abilities. Our championship golf courses offer a variety of challenges from a link-style walk along the river to an escape into the pines and everything in between. My team at Ron Jaworski Golf is committed to delivering memorable experiences every single day. See all we do at ronjaworskigolf.com.
It's happening again. Those missed tackles are starting to stack up. Your friends pleading with players who can't hear them, sweating it out week after week. But not you. Why? Because whether they score or not, there's always another way to win on the betPARX app. New casino users score up to $1,000 bonus back in their first 24 hours.
At Pond Lehocky, we're neither a pond nor a hockey team. In fact, I don't even know how to skate.
Cut.
We're the injury law firm that you want fighting for you.
With our vast network of attorneys across the country, we know the playbook on injury law.
It's how Pond Lehocky recovered billions of dollars for more than 100,000 injured and disabled workers.
And we know we can do the same for you.
So give Pond Lehocky a call. No other law firm will fight harder for you.
And you'll never pay a dime until we win.
It's the most wonderful time with the kids jingle. Be of good cheer. It's the most wonderful.
Whether your phone's broken or old, we've got you. With Verizon, anyone can trade in any phone, any condition. And get iPhone 16 Pro with Apple Intelligence on us. And iPad and Apple Watch Series 10, all 3 on us. That's up to $2,000 in value, only on Verizon.
Hello?
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Stay at Home Home Care. Welcome back to the betPARX postgame show from Parx Casino in Bensalem, just 20 minutes north of Center City, Philadelphia. Over 3,200 slot machines here at Parx Casino. We are presented by the great people at Pond Lehocky. Let's do a little stock up, stock down. Eagles get 14 wins on the season. Nick Sirianni is the only Eagles head coach to achieve that accomplishment. He's done it twice. Andy Reid's most 13 wins in a season. So how about that for Nick Sirianni? But let's run through some names here. And let's start it out with the executive, maybe the executive of the year, Howie Roseman. The days of just ripping Howie Roseman incessantly are long gone. And when you hit on 2 corners in one draft, when you've never really hit on a corner, free agency or not, or the draft, obviously, that's a pretty good offseason for Howie Roseman. Howie Roseman, stock up, stock down, even after this year, gentlemen. What are you looking at?
I think his stock has been up the last 3 drafts. You know, since he's made the decision to move away from going off the rails and drafting somebody, you know, that he may have had an interest in, and just looking at, you know, especially when you're drafting in the first round, especially the first 15 guys, a lot of times, you know, those first 10 to 12 guys, those guys are pretty much, you know, slotted where they are because of their ranking and what they bring to the table. So you don't have to go off the rails. And there's 2 modes of thinking when you're actually drafting, okay? If you're a team that's on the cusp of a Super Bowl and somehow you've got a first-round draft pick, that means that if you're drafting that early, that means that somewhere along the line you made a trade and you got somebody else's first-round draft pick in the subsequent year, kind of like they did last year. They had 2 ones last year, okay? So if you're on the cusp of winning, then you go after the need at that specific position that pushes you over the top. Any other time, you're in team building mode. And when you're building a team, you take the best available. Now, that best available could be the best available at a specific position. It could be the best available overall. But you always go best available unless you're close, really, really close to a Super Bowl. And Howie's shift in the last 3 years has been along those lines. Like, you think about the last 3 drafts, okay? He takes Jordan Davis, then he takes Nakobe Dean, falls to him in 3, okay? Then he comes back, he moves up, and he gets Jalen Carter at 9, okay? And then Nolan Smith falls to us at 32. And this year, you know, with all the offensive players being picked early in the game, Quinyon Mitchell falls to us, you know, later in the first round. So he snatches, you know, what was deemed the best cornerback by a lot of people in Quinyon Mitchell. Even though he came from a smaller school, he got the best, you know, cornerback in the draft last year. Then they turn around because of all the offensive players again. Cooper DeJean is sitting there, and Howie wheels and deals to move up to take a guy, you know, that's in the top 3 or 5 cornerbacks in the draft, you know. So he's made a lot of good moves. You know, anytime a team is having success, 14 wins in 2 out of the last 3 years, of course, you know, he's going to get a lot of credit for that, and rightfully so. But I think his shift, because the one thing we knew that Howie could be a deal maker, okay? He can make trades. He can get draft capital. He's magnificent at that, okay? And he's absolutely awesome. And I don't know what formula he's got that other teams don't have, but how he's able to finagle and work the salary cap to be able to sign your left tackle, your left guard, both wide receiver A and wide receiver 1A. You know, how do you do that? And bring Saquon Barkley in. How do you do that and still be 20 to 30 million under the cap when other teams are dying in purgatory, in salary cap purgatory, in salary cap hell? You know, so you got to give him a lot of credit, because it's not just, you know, the team that he's built, but it's how he's built them and built it, and how he's been able to stay, you know, relevant from a cap standpoint, doing all of this also with a quarterback under his franchise under his franchise contract.
Absolutely incredible. Gunner, stock up?
Oh, no question, stock way up. A couple of years ago, I had a conversation with him, and he talked about one of the biggest transformations he had to make is when he started to really dabble into the SEC conference, something that this organization had neglected for a long time. He said even his grandfather was asking me, hey, why aren't you taking some of these guys from the SEC? And I thought that was one of the funniest things, and look what has happened. You know, we had our questions about Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter started off his rookie year like he was going to be Defensive Rookie Player of the Year, faded. Jordan Davis never really took hold. Now look at them now. Nolan Smith, same way. We wonder, why did they draft him? All of a sudden, he's picking it up now. So, yes, Howie has made incredible strategic moves, not just with the draft, but with free agency, none bigger than bringing Saquon Barkley here. And Seth is right. We've talked about this time and time again. You look at the Dallas Cowboys, they can't figure out a salary cap to save their lives. Yet Howie Roseman brings in whoever he wants, whenever he wants, and they still have money under the cap at the end of a year for the last several years. And his head coach, an unknown head coach he brings in here 4 seasons ago, has double-digit wins every year he's been here and has already gone to a Super Bowl in his 4-year tenure here. So Howie has made a lot of strategic moves. He's taking a lot of heat. He's taking a lot of heat from me in the media. He's taking a lot of heat from the media in general, a lot of harsh criticism. And I mean, some of it downright hurtful and spiteful in a lot of ways. And he has withstood the test of time. And I'm not going to say he's getting the laugh now. I don't think he's laughing, but he's proud of the fact that he was. You got to give kudos to Jeffrey Lurie, because a lot of owners might buckle under the general consensus and move on from him. You know, you go back to when Chip Kelly was here. Chip had him jettisoned to a corner office somewhere. Jeffrey Lurie could have easily bounced him then. He didn't. before it was said and done, Howie had regained his status and Chip Kelly was on his way out. And you now look at what Howie has done in his second life in terms of decision-making for this organization has been phenomenal.
And there's another point that cannot be understated. The Eagles underwent massive coaching changes last year. I think, in my opinion, one of the biggest upgrades that the Eagles made in the offseason was on the coaching staff. You go and you get Vic Fangio, you bring in Kellen Moore. But what comes with those guys is a whole new set of position coaches that really make a difference. When I look at the advancement of the linebackers at the linebacker position, I don't think you can underscore the fact that, now they probably have a viable linebacker coach that could take a guy like Zach Bond, who never been a starter before, and turn him into a Pro Bowl linebacker. Take a Nakobe Dean, who everybody had questions about, who I said, hey, your Eagles need to move on and find somebody else, and turn him into a viable player. To take two rookies and immerse one in the starting lineup from the word go, and the next one in week 6 after the bye, and have those guys be productive, contributing players. That speaks to me of the defensive coordinator and the position coaches that he brought with them, and their ability to not only, bring along, but to develop these young players in quick fashion. Also on the offensive side of the ball, I mean, you got a great coach in Jeff Stoutland. I don't know all the people that Kellen Moore brought with him. Obviously, Stoutland was here, but for the offense to be as productive as it is, a lot of times it's coaching. And I think you can't underscore, good coaching when you have good players. Because no matter how good the players are, if you can't take the pieces on the chessboard and put them in position to make plays, then talent means nothing. You just got a bunch of real talented guys that's running around, with their hair on fire.
Fair enough. All right, stock up, stock down. This is the toughest one probably to make the call on. Jalen Hurts, who, by the way, 103.7 passer rating, the highest of his career this season. You could rebut that by saying he's had the least amount of attempts he's ever had in his career. The offense was never centered around the pass, so it was the easiest year he could have had. Stock up, stock down with Jalen Hurts. Who wants to take it first?
Listen, my stock will always be up with Jalen Hurts, and this is why. The guy's just a winner. If you're going to you want to talk about how many games Nick Sirianni's won, I think now it's, 48-19? Then you have to put Jalen Hurts right next to him, because the only starting quarterback that Nick Sirianni has known is Jalen Hurts. The guy's just flat out a winner. Whatever it takes to win, he gets it done. And every year is different. Every year is different. Year before last, he was in the running for the MVP. They go to the Super Bowl and they lose. They come back, and if you think that last year was the anomaly, look at the San Francisco 49ers the year after, coming up short and losing in the Super Bowl, okay? It happens. You got all of these coordinator moves and all these changes that you're making. I'm going to give Jalen Hurts the grace of, the passing game not being what it really needs to be. For the first time, he's making all the line calls. He's learned a new offense. He's got 2 new voices in his ear on a daily basis, and Kellen Moore and his quarterback's coach. The team realized that, we've got a beast in Saquon Barkley, and we're going to go old school. We're going to run smash mouth football, and we're going to dominate the game. But when Jalen has had to throw the ball and they needed him to throw the ball, he has gotten the job done. So if 2 years ago you deemed that this is your franchise quarterback, and you have one of the best records over the last 3 years as a franchise of anybody in the National Football League, with probably the exception of the 2-time, back-to-back champion Kansas City Chiefs, what are we complaining about? What are we complaining about? Because we're right there. We was in a Super Bowl 2 years ago. We were close to getting there last year before everything imploded. And I think it was a matter of talent on the defensive side of the ball, indecision, and the inability to solve problems on the offensive side of the ball, and 2 defensive coordinators in 1 season. You think that dysfunction would make any team fall apart, okay? But they still managed to win, 11 games last year? Or 11 games last year? So 14 games, 11 games, 14 games, and looking at the possibility of another Super Bowl, the second one in 2 years. I think we need to learn how to be thankful for what we have in Philadelphia, because guess what? It could be a hell of a lot worse.
The only argument that I have agreed with the Jalen Hurts argument is that he's in the sidecar on this team. That's the only – but the sidecar he's on right now is with Saquon Barkley, and as I've told you guys a number of times, the most potent weapon in the NFL is Saquon Barkley running behind this offensive line. So just because that exists on this team doesn't mean that Jalen Hurts is all of a sudden terrible. You mentioned the MVP voting. Runner-up in the MVP probably would have been the MVP the year they went to the Super Bowl if he didn't miss those 2 games at the end of the year. Then going into that San Francisco 49ers game last year, he was the odds-on favorite to be the MVP of the league, and then everything on the team fell apart. Yes, even including his play. This year, just the fact that Saquon Barkley exists and has played so historically well doesn't make me look at Jalen Hurts any different. I still think he's a quarterback that can help you win a Super Bowl, and he's going to put the Eagles in a good position to do that.
And D-Gun, every single time that somebody says what Jalen can't do, he steps forward in short order and proves them wrong.
What's wrong with being in the sidecar as long as you're not deflating the tires? What's wrong with that?
That's a great way to put it.
I mean, he's completing 69% of his passes. He's only thrown 5 interceptions. He had 2 fumbles the entire season. Off the top of my head, I can think of 6 or 7 teams in the National Football League that would be desperate to have a Jalen Hurts-type quarterback running their offense. I think a lot of times people don't appreciate what they have, and they're always looking for something more. Jalen has been efficient. He has made big plays. He's accounted for 32 touchdowns for this team, 18 passing and 14 rushing. Okay. He can throw the ball deep. A couple of years ago, we were questioning whether or not he could throw the deep ball with accuracy. He's shown that he can do that, okay? He steps up and takes off and frustrates defenses to no ends with his legs. When you hit him one time, you don't just wrap him up and take him down like a lot of quarterbacks curl up and hit the turf. His legs keep turning and pick up more yards. He's that dual-threat quarterback that a lot of teams would love to have, and he's blessed to have the best offensive line and an array of weapons that is basically second to none in the National Football League. He has not hurt this team in any way, shape, or form. He is primarily responsible for this team in a lot of ways achieving 13 wins. Obviously, he didn't play today, but 13 wins. He is as much a part of the reason why they won that as anybody on this team.
Imagine if Saquon caught that ball in week 2.
Oh, my.
Jalen Hurts put the ball where it needed to be, babe.
Imagine if Devontae catches that ball. The Eagles are sitting here with one loss and got the number 1 seed.
Absolutely. Last name I have for you guys, Nick Sirianni. Stock up, stock down. Seth already laid it out all on the table. When it came to the coaching acquisitions, Vic Fangio and his defense came in here to Philadelphia. They only became the number 1 defense in the NFL. Then you have Kellen Moore and his offensive mind coming in here and taking over the offense and supposedly having full control of the offense. But how much of another, can't believe I'm saying this, 14-win season under Nick Sirianni's watch is Nick Sirianni's credit? Stock up, stock down with Nick Sirianni.
I'm going to say stock up. Stock up. Even when he has stepped out of line with his passion and emotions, it has not hurt this team. It has not derailed this team in any way, shape, or form. And he has found a way to put himself in check, to step out of the way when he's had to. At times, maybe he did have his hand a little bit too much in the cookie jar, but he got his hand slapped a few times and he's gotten his hand out of the cookie jar. I've never heard a player say a bad thing about Nick Sirianni. Obviously, he's well respected in that building and amongst his coaching staff. So with that said, again, how many coaches historically in the NFL have had double-digit wins every year they've been in the NFL, especially the first 4 years? You can't say that. Look at how much the personnel has changed over the 4 years he's been here, and he's still found a way. Even when it went bad last year, still had double-digit wins. So I'm going to say Nick Sirianni's stock is up, and I know a lot of people don't like Sirianni. A lot of people are indifferent towards him, but get a man his props. I mean, he's got this team sitting at the number 2 seed in the NFC with a chance to possibly go to the Super Bowl again.
All right. Lightning round. Jordan Davis. Stock up, stock down.
Up.
Up for Jordan Davis.
Up.
Whoa.
Up.
If you have to think that hard about it.
Flatline.
Flatline. Oh, we have a fence presented, ladies and gentlemen.
Know why? You know why? This is primarily the reason why. I just need more out of a guy that's drafted number 13 overall.
I agree. That's why I would say stock down this year. That's where we go. I'm close to that line.
But Mark, he's been better this year than he was in the previous 2 years.
Yes.
I just need more out of a guy picked 13th overall. I need more out of him than the few flashes that you see in a game.
Fair enough. Darius Slay.
I got a flat line on that one.
You got a flat line on Darius Slay.
Listen, man, I think Slay has been a great player in this league for a long time. But let's just be honest. His best days are behind him, and, you got to get younger at that position. He's been a great leader. He's been a great leader for Quignon, been a great leader for Cooper DeJean. And I know he wears the C on his chest. But the Eagles, after this season, have to figure out how to get younger and more productive at that position.
All right, I got two more. Jake Elliott. Ooh, missed another one today.
I'm good on Jake.
You're still good on Jake? Okay.
Listen, they had 20-mile-an-hour wind today.
All right.
I'm pretty sure, when it comes time for Jake, when we need Jake to make field goals, Jake steps up and makes pressure-packed field goals.
All right, Gunner?
I do have a little bit of concern that this season has been his worst in terms of 50-plus yard field goals. So if it comes down to that, I'm more nervous than I've ever been with Jake Elliott. I'm going to say stock down.
Stock down. All right, last one. Big Dom. Stock up, stock down.
Oh, you don't have to ask me that. You don't have to ask me that.
I'd say stock up.
Big Dom's my boy.
Sirianni doesn't make the same mistake twice.
No. I'm telling you what, and plus,
Big Dom's stock will always be up.
Yeah.
There are things that Big Dom does behind the scenes that holds the situation together that people shouldn't be privy to and don't know about, and that's just a fact.
Fair enough.
Well, most teams have two or more security people run. Now think about this: how many football players you're dealing with in a season? How many different personalities? And some of them, let's face it, I'm not just talking about Eagles. I'm talking across the board. Some of them are knuckleheads. Got some knuckleheads playing in the National Football League. Big Dom, I call him Houdini. He makes a lot of stuff disappear that nobody ever knows about. That's all I'm going to say.
Fair enough.
So stock up.
I'll say it again.
The man doesn't sleep. He's on call 24/7. Trust me, he's gotten calls 2, 3, 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
Stock up with Big Dom.
I said it already once about something totally different. No further questions.
Yep.
No further questions on that. I'll tell you, one more thing that stocks way up, the chat today. Goodness gracious, you guys have been incredible.
Oh, my goodness.
Just absolutely phenomenal. And thank you for joining us throughout this entire regular season. Hopefully we have plenty, not just one, not just 2, 3, 4 postseason games to be talking about here on the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel, as well as 6abc.com. So we appreciate you guys joining us throughout this 14-win regular season for the Eagles. Now, on to the postseason. For Seth Joyner, for Derrick Gunn, for our great team here at PARX Casino, my name is Marc Farzetta. For Bailey Livesey, Dr. Bruce Grossinger as well. We appreciate you guys joining us throughout the regular season. We get to come back next week and do this whole thing all over again. Now, real quick, on the table, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Saturday, 2 games, 4:30, 8:15. Sunday, 1 p.m., 4:30, 8:15, and Monday at 8:15 as well.
Ooh.
So we'll be, pulling for a Sunday game. Keep the routine.
Yeah.
I don't want no Saturday game.
I just don't want the night game.
I don't want the Monday night. I mean, I don't care about the Sunday night game. I don't want the Monday night game. They can have that.
I want the early game or the second game on a Sunday. I don't want that late night game. Yeah.
I might be rooting for Monday night.
Why?
If Jalen's still on the list there on Wednesday, I'm going to want an extra day. It could be a world of difference. You never know.
He ain't gonna be on no list.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think he's magically going to be off that list. Folks, thank you so much for joining us again. The Eagles close out the season 14-3 with a 20-13 victory over the New York Giants. Thanks so much for joining us. See you guys next week.
Fly, Eagles, fly.